After appearing to be on the verge of collapse, a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas has come into effect and is holding for now. The beginning of the truce was delayed for several hours, late last night our time, early this morning in Gaza, but extraordinary scenes have followed today. 3 hostages held by Hamas have been released, 90 Palestinian prisoners freed by Israel, and a fragile peace has been restored to Gaza. But we do warn there are confronting images in this report from senior correspondent Lisette Raymer.
Gaza Square was overrun with surging crowds. The masked gunmen of Hamas emerged from the shadows to assert their control. And barely visible at the centre of it all, 3 Israeli hostages took their first steps towards safety. Freedom has rarely appeared so frightening. In their final minutes together, the women were handed bags by their captors containing mementos, souvenirs of their nightmare, before being driven out of Gaza by the Red Cross and delivered to the Israeli army. Bargaining chips of this war, now survivors against all odds. This was the scene in Tel Aviv's hostage square when the news came through. And this was outside the hospital, where the hostages will experience their first few nights of freedom. From the clutches of Hamas into the safe arms of loved ones. These reunions felt too out of reach to even hope for just a week ago. The freed hostages, a 24-year-old Romy Gonen, who was kidnapped as she tried to flee from the Nova Music Festival on October 7th, 31-year-old Doran Steinbrecher, a veterinary nurse who was kidnapped from her home, and Emily Damari, a 28-year-old dual British and Israeli citizen who was taken from the same kibbutz. Pictured here with her mum, her ordeal cost her at least 2 fingers, but still her smile has endured.
The ceasefire has gone into effect in Gaza, and today we're seeing hostages being released. 3 Israeli women held against their will in the dark tunnels for 470 days.
In exchange, 90 Palestinian prisoners have now been released from jail. This bus carried women and teenagers who had been locked up without trial to freedom as supporters climbed on top, welcoming them home. Palestinians embracing a joy they've been starved of for so long, after months of grief and an agonising start to the day. The ceasefire was delayed by 3 hours this morning, and while Israeli authorities waited for Hamas to name the hostages about to be freed, they used the extra time to kill. Unsure peace would ever arrive in Gaza, but desperate to believe it would, displaced families started the journey home. Everything is destroyed, this woman says, walking amongst the ruins of her old life. Do you hear the shelling, she asks? They can't be trusted. But by mid-morning, the truce was enacted. The skies finally free of missiles. This is a dream coming true, this man says. We have died 1,000,000 times. Tonight, the deal remains fragile. There is still no agreement on who will take charge of Gaza, and Hamas has returned to the streets in an unmistakable show of force, letting everyone know that despite heavy losses, they remain the dominant power on the Strip. History shows that agreements signed with cautious hope have come and gone many times before. But for now, there is peace.